Hello and welcome to the Geek Show for our coverage of Grimmfest. I'm subbing in for Andy today, and I've been joined by Tom Botchii. Hello there.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you. Your movie Syphon is playing the event. What is Syphon?
Siphon's kind of like a cat and mouse revenge thriller, and it's got a lot of action, a lot of crazy stunts, gallons upon gallons of blood. But it's an action movie. Don't get mistaken. It's not a horror film. It is an action film through and through.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's also kind of a comedy as well because I have to bring up. I guess it's called Team Stupid involvement because the cameos that happen there they're very surreal, I guess, especially the Rogers car wash thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun cameos. There's a lot of fun moments that break up a lot of like the intensity and the thriller aspect. But yeah, there's a lot of moments in the movie. I think that work
Yeah.
really well.
How did that happen though? The because there's a sequence in the movie where there's a chase that end up in a car wash, and there's an advert playing for the car wash, and it's odd. Advert, the Rogers car wash advert. So how did that
So
come about?
so in LA, there's like a huge car wash culture where there's like many blocks, especially by where I live in Van Nuys. On every block, there's like four car washes that are drive through, and they all have like crazy openings with every type of big, you know, spinning belt, cleaning device, and music and laser shows. And
Wow.
so I always want to do a fight scene in one of those types of car washes where it's like a techno club, but it's just a car wash. And so we filmed in Idaho, which does not have a car wash culture, and instead
Okay.
they have a very normal car wash, kind of culture in that neck of the woods. So there's kind of like normal car washes there. They're not as insane as the ones in LA. So the idea was like, how do we bring some of that insane car wash culture? And one of the things I've seen in a few of the spots in LA is they have little televisions kind of placed around where you could see lights or whatever it is, almost like you're on a ride and they're taking a picture of you. And
Wow.
so I wanted to just kind of capture some of that moment in this scene that takes place in the car wash. And so we came up with the idea of doing a music video and playing it that plays like an 80s advertisement. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite things in movies when you have these little adverts sort of like bits from TV. It's
Yeah.
just it's always fun. Keeping an eye out for them, yeah, especially.
Yeah.
I don't know how to word this, so apologise for my wording, but the blocking is quite clumsy for an action movie. It seems intentionally clumsy because is this fair to say? Because the two people who it's an action movie, but they're not action heroes. They're kind of awkward people in the situation. Would you say that's fair? Have I worded that
Sure.
poorly?
Well,
I
there's
don't know.
so I think a lot of time in action films, the idea is to present these like it's an action film, but everybody's a superhero for no reason. And I
Hmm.
didn't want to do that. I wanted to present people that were after revenge, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're the smartest or the black belt. It it just means you're full of rage. And whatever happens. If but one thing's for certain, it's going to be chaotic. And so that was kind of the presentation I wanted to get across: is chaos is king versus, oh my god, he did that flipping Van Damme split kick. Like, we can't do that. I've never I've I've taken three different martial arts. I've never been able to do that freaking thing. I can't. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we were kind of trying to make things grimy, and that was like our strength, right? Is playing into this like grimy, realistic fight feel, or over the top struggle nature versus this idea of like these perfect punches and perfect form, and this like great, like we block and hit. Like I didn't want things to feel like a dance. I wanted them to feel ugly, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
yeah. And it works so well. There's a scene which really stood out for me. It's not the fighting, but it sort of comes after that. The water bottle scene, I think, will become kind of infamous. Infamous, sorry. How did that come about? Because that's a big ask of one of your leading men to pull himself across the floor like that.
Yeah, the water bottle scene. So, uh, I really like taking situations that don't feel threatening and trying to make them feel threatening. In my
Hmm.
first film, it was a horror film, and instead of trying to take a scenario where a child would be forced to face some sort of violence, I decided to use a child in a scene where he was being forced to drink alcohol. And this idea of it's more like mental torture versus physical torture, I've
Yeah,
always thought feels more intense because we've all been so desensitized in all types of genre films to see all these like torturous or crazy things. And no one simplifies and goes the other way, where they almost take something as hard as you know, uh, or tries to make something hard that shouldn't be hard. Like drinking from a water bottle is not difficult at all. But when you're desperate and it's being kept from you and there's no way you could get to it, it starts to feel a little different. And so I really like that idea of trying to take these small things and add a struggle to them so they feel more intense. I think a lot of times filmmakers focus on making things bigger versus making things more impactful. And so
yes.
the water bottle scene was my version of doing that.
How did that unfold on the day? Because it's very hard on him as an actor.
Yeah, it was brutal. So on the day, we took a bunch of shots for our inserts first for editing purposes. And then I set the bottle by the camera and had the actor about 10 feet away. And I intended on getting wide shots and kind of doing a lot of coverage to create this idea of a struggle. And then Shuhei just went for it. He started he got lost in the character and was really feeling the scene and went for it, and it adds so much. I mean, that scene only works because of his real life struggle. It's all captured on camera.
Oh, yeah,
And
it's a
so
brilliant scene. Yeah.
yeah, and when that was happening, we were all kind of just watching in silence because that scene has been cut down tremendously. It's actually a lot longer. He
Oh,
struggled to get that water bottle. We actually did the scene in two long oneer takes, and both of them were actually about 4 minutes apiece, which made the scene about 12 minutes long. So uh, in editing, I realized I had to like cut it down because people were suffering too much with the character. I wanted them to suffer with the
yeah.
character, but they were really suffering because he's struggling for so long. So, yeah, in the end, that scene could have been much more painful and longer, but I realized I didn't want to. I didn't want the audience to suffer that much. I always want the audience to suffer a little bit so they can relate to the
Oh, yeah.
character, but
Yeah.
not that much.
Yeah. I mean, it's really sold with it's got some marvelous cinematography throughout the movie. It's always nice when you see movies shot in sort of parts of America, so, as somebody talking from like an international viewer, where it doesn't look like the sort of America you've seen before, and the cinematography really brings that to life. I think it's a very handsome movie.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk about the influences. Influences are always a funny thing to me when talking to filmmakers because it's kind of diverse. What I was picking up, it started off with Blue Ruin and it ended up with deathmatch wrestling.
Hell yeah, that's
It's
pretty good. That's pretty good right
it's
there.
accurate.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I love Blue Ruin and Deathmatch. I mean, I have a history in the wrestling business, and part of that simplified approach that I was talking to you about with the water bottle scene is the same type of idea I'm presenting in some of these fight scenes, like these characters who are so desperate they have to try something insane. But where I'm pulling the insanity from comes from the wrestling world, barbed wire, broken glass, these other elements of like using foreign objects. If I could
Yes.
have had someone hit someone with a steel chair, I would have, um, but there were none around. So,
Oh
um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean that's there's a lot of wrestling influence. There's a lot of there's Blue Ruins definitely an influence. A lot of a lot of influence comes from. Oh, I mean, I love. There was a film that Brandon Lee was in called Rapid Fire. I love that type of action and how kinetic it felt. It came out in 1991, I believe, and
Not seen that one.
and
Yeah.
it feels like they used every bullet at the time that existed in Hollywood. They just grabbed them all. And they're like, "This is all the gunpowder we have." And then they also did a lot of great hand-to-hand and martial arts, fight scenes. Al Leong helped put together those fight scenes, and he's talked about it a lot. Him and Brandon Lee, and I feel like a lot of what they did in that film captures this like kind of kinetic energy. That and the films like Crank, for example. It's just like this constant
Yeah.
force of energy. And I really like that idea of constant, whether it's like consistent tension or consistent energy or consistent intensity, whatever it is. I love these big, long moments where a scenario happens and we just sit there in that feeling for a while.
Yeah. And you got two great leading men to go through that. I mean, we've talked about Shu here, but Jeffrey Decker is equally as game. He doesn't have to go through quite as much of a ringer. But how did you come by the two? Had you worked with them previously?
So I had worked with Jeffrey Decker previously. Shuhei, that was a kind of a new connection. Um, Shuhei just sent in an audition, and it was tremendous. And from there, he really had a lot of interesting ideas about the character, and he fit the role really well. And in addition, he kind of like brought his own flavor that was really interesting, that wasn't really in the script. Like he really made that part. And same with Jeff. Jeff really, there was a lot of ideas and presentation, which it wasn't necessarily how I wrote it down, but it was also a very honest and accurate depiction of what I was trying to get across. So they were both
Hmm.
really good in that and really strong in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Sorry, I'm darting around on my questions here, but
Okay.
for the next one, there's a line that really when how do I do this without spoiling it? There's a sequence where they're both together. The cat has caught the mouse, and there's a line which I thought was really interesting. What Shuhei says, "It's no one is innocent."
Right.
Um, the political sort of voice of this. I'm not sure how to ask this without upsetting people and who make watching this, but what are the what was the
Upset them all.
political consideration when
Fuck
writing
all
this?
those people.
Yeah, that's fair. Because you talk about the old Japanese internment camps in that piece as well. It's you go right for the guttural, politically speaking, in that sequence.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt that was honest to that situation. There's very many Asian Americans I've known who've been dealt with. They've been forced to be scapegoats for a lot of things, and that whole scene I feel is very honest depiction of kind of what they've experienced and what's been shared with me and what I've seen myself. That's just, I mean, it's just this really unfair treatment of Asian Americans in this country. I mean, and
Hmm.
in general, I think this idea of no one being innocent is like there's a lot there. There's a lot of substance there, and there's a lot of misplaced rage that just exists currently in the political landscape, like even geopolitics, everything around the world, where everyone is loud right now and everyone is guilty and everyone is being targeted and no one even knows why. They're just doing it. Everyone's getting their
Yes.
voice heard and no one's listening. And I think that's very interesting and it's captured in those two characters in the film. There are these people who they've got a lot they need to get out. But what is it that's like, what are they actually targeting and what's it going to result for them? Is there going to be justice or what really happens at the end? And so that's kind of what was like my main draw in laying out this story and also in the presentation of this film and these characters. I feel like it's the big battle that they're facing, their big uphill battles. Like they're understanding what they think they want and it's very surface level. And what's
Yes.
deeper is something that's like it's a little more painful, a little more traumatic. It's a little more unsettling and unclear. They think it's clear, but it's really not. You know. So
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
Was there any nervousness in writing? So honestly, because I know it is
No, no. I
pretty.
mean, I think when you write honestly, it's whatever. Yeah, it's more like when you write inauthentically, right? Like you're like, this is what I think would happen. It's like, it's more about just uh, as long as you're serving the characters correctly. I think that's when you get some of the like the most the meat on the bone. That's where the most meat on the bone is. You know, is when you start digging
Hmm.
deep and you start finding these turbulent kind of like uh, areas under the surface. And so, no, I wasn't worried about that at all, really. It's
Hmm.
more like what I was worried about is am I being authentic? Like, am I writing this authentically to the character? And, that just kind of comes with time. As you write, you kind of develop an understanding of how to get there. You understand who to show. Same with the movie when it's done. You understand who to show. You understand how to like test it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, that's usually what I'm more concerned with is like, am I getting the proper feedback, if that makes sense, and am I also critiquing myself correctly as I'm completing the project?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine it. That scene, if you were sitting on the fence about those sorts of issues, it it'd ruin the whole thing, really. Because how could you like tell those stories without being honest about it? I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people are kind of like afraid to dive into this or that, or when in fact there's a lot of honesty and just you know I don't know, like finding the real moment behind all these scenarios. A lot of I feel like there's a lot of scenarios people would like to present, but they like presenting them with filters. Like this filter of, well, let's make it pretty. And man, that pretty world. I don't know if that's for me. Like I'm all about the ugly and like just getting brutal honesty down. In this scenario, right? Like I'm sure there's something else. Like maybe if maybe if I did something
Oh,
in
of course.
regards to like a bubblegum type of film or something, I would have a lot more prettiness in it.
Yes. I mentioned earlier about Team Stupid, and there's all sorts of things happening right now. I just wanted to know about the American indie from your perspective. Really, it feels like it's having a real coming out party, I guess, for independent American indie films, genre films in particular.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, thought that when the strikes happened and with everything happening in America, film from an indie perspective it really became like this impossible uphill battle to be able to get films funded and get films off the ground. And instead, it seems like the opposite effect happened. The same idea I had, which was I'm just going to take whatever money I have and find six friends to do a movie. That idea seemed to spread across the entire indie film landscape because more indie films seem to have been made. It's almost doubled in recent years. Every film festival I talk to mentions that they've gotten like three times the amount of submissions. So
Oh wow!
by that information, all I could glean is people were kind of tired of going stir crazy and waiting on others like myself, and decided to just go to business for themselves and get something done. And
Yeah.
that's how films like this get made. Syphon's, it's a low budget indie, but it's one of the films I've done that has the biggest ambition. And I think a lot of people are kind of just tired of waiting around, and that it's a different film business. I would even argue that the film business I'm in, or the films I do, it's not the film business. It's not film. It's not that business model. I don't understand that business model. It's never worked for me. I've never been able to get a film that way. The only way I could do them is how I did this film. And so I think there's a tide shifting. I don't know if it's good or bad. I just know that it seems like that's what's happening, is people are just kind of going stir crazy, waiting on relying on other people to help them get stuff done, and instead they're just doing it themselves, which is kind of that more punk rock, do it
Oh,
yourself
yeah.
attitude that you should have anyways when it comes to making films, because that's kind of like the only way to make them, period. Like, it's impossible to make a movie
Yeah.
in general.
It's so aspirational as well. You look at like the Hollywood movies, and the credits go on for like 20 minutes,
Right. It's
and
crazy.
there's just people doing everything. And you see an indie movie with a very small crew, and you think, I can do that.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and that's the most beautiful thing of all, I think, really, to inspire people to pick up the camera. I think, anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, we did a lot of very crazy stunts. We did a lot of very crazy stunts, and there were, 6 people on our crew. And
Yeah, it's very impressive.
I feel like if you can, this sounds a little trite, but if you can dream it, you could achieve it. And it doesn't matter if you have 600 people, a big team with previs people laying out all your stunts, and then a, fight choreographer and his team laying out the fight scene, presenting it to you, you approving it, and then you going there on the day after all the rehearsal and shooting it. You could go get it done however you need to, in whatever scrappy way. You don't have to do it all those ways. You don't have to first build up the team and the money and you can just do it. Just shut up and go do it. And I think right now, at least in terms of people that I know, it seems like there is a big push to just get things done and stop worrying about all these people, like, above you theoretically, who are caught up in these strikes and with these negotiations, and all their fees, and
Hmm. Yeah, of
it's
course. Yeah.
just, yeah. So
Yeah, I think personally, I think it's a great thing. I mean, Hollywood in the 70s didn't have the sort of scale and bloat that Hollywood does, so it worked once upon a time. So why not again?
yeah, yeah,
I feel.
yeah. The '70s was a great era in film. So who knows what's to
Hmm.
come. So
Yeah.
yeah.
This isn't your first Grimmfest, which is where this will be playing in its UK premiere. And what drew you back for Syphon the second time?
Grimmfest had, of all the film festivals that I've been to, Grimmfest had the best screening. We're talking like the best screen, the best video presentation, the best audio, the best like feeling, the best, when we're done, the fan interaction. Like, there was so much, like, uh, I don't know how to describe it. Like, technically, it was the best theatrical experience, one of the best theatrical experience I've ever had in my life, and it was for my dumb movie. You know what I mean? So it was like, oh man, if I do another one, I'm going to try to go back there. Like, I want to premiere there, and so that's what happened with Syphon.
Yeah, yeah. Will you be coming to this year's event?
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I've never been to Grimmfest. I love Manchester, but I've never been. Um, but yeah, I hope you have a great time.
yeah. Thanks. I really liked being at Grimfest last time, so I've got a lot of. I'm very hopeful that this time I think will be a great experience. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see some of the other films and just kind of like be a tourist. I want to run around and do some I don't know. I'm supposed to eat Sunday roast when I'm there. You know how I'm an American tourist coming in, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we do good food in the UK. Don't let the internet convince you otherwise.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's a great city, Manchester. But as for yourself, what's next for Tom Botchii? Have you got anything else in the pipeline?
There's a few projects I'm working on, and uh, right now I'm kind of branching into something I haven't done before. Like there's a lot of projects that I've had that I've tried to get off the ground that some have worked, some haven't for whatever reason. But next thing I'm doing is something I haven't really done before, which you know, I got like my fingers crossed. We'll see if it happens. It's kind of like one of those. Every time I
Hmm.
talk about like what's next, it's always that never say never thing that I've learned from wrestling. You're supposed to say of like, yeah, there's a new movie coming soon, but also maybe not, but also maybe so. I don't know because you just never know with this, especially with the state of the
Yeah.
industry nowadays, and with financing and how those things work, and how truly a miracle it is to actually get a movie off the ground. It's hard to speak about what's to come, other than say like,
Oh, of
well, you
course,
never
of
know. I
course.
mean, hopefully, I won't be homeless in the next month. We'll see. We never know. So,
Okay. That's a little bit more honest than I thought it was going to be.
right. Yeah, yeah. There's definitely some projects in the works, and we'll see if anything lands.
Hmm. Well, thank you for your time and patience, Tom. This was a technical hoopla, really. But
Yeah,
thank
but
you.
the world of editing will save you. There's always some cinemagic to be done everywhere you go.